What's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and welcome back to Rob the Mic for episode 19. So, for the most part, the last few episodes, the past couple of weeks, have been kind of based on the week before, right? I tend to dive into issues, things that have kind of been going on, and we kind of branch off of that. So, I did have an idea for today's episode, but it got switched up last night, super late, like before I went to bed. I saw a reel on Instagram, and what it basically did is it kind of, I don't know, it opened up my mind in a different way because it's something I've been feeling. I've been feeling very grateful, very thankful lately. And I was trying to figure out how to put it into an episode, but I couldn't really formulate how to do that. So I saw a reel last night, and the moment that I saw it, I was like, oh, dude, this is how to do it. This is everything about what I'm trying to discuss. So, and I didn't know that I was going to do that today, but I wanted to do it at some point because it's been something that I'm dealing with. So I figured this is a perfect time. And again, the fact that I saw it randomly last night before bed, I was like, you know what? That's what today's has to be. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is talking about being seen, heard, and appreciated. Because those three things encompass everything that I've been feeling the past couple weeks. And again, this reel that I saw, of course, is inspired by somebody else, and that person is Lisa Marie. You can find her on Instagram at seasoned_dialogue. Again, that's seasoned_dialogue. I'll put it right here so you guys can go check it out when you get a chance. Basically, what she does is she talks about, I'm not going to say necessarily motivational things, but she definitely has a way with words. She talks about life concepts, things that we kind of all deal with on a daily basis, and the difficulties of life. But I think the way that she speaks about these things is so beautiful. And I think it's really hard because we're flooded with this space of like positivity and people trying to tell you all these things. But there's a difference when somebody is actually incredible at doing that. And in my opinion, I think she's one of the best. I really do. Like, I put her up there with people like Jay Shetty and things like that, because people like Jay Shetty have a way of speaking to you. I think they have this understanding of people. They have this understanding of self that tends to reflect in their work. So when you listen to Lisa Marie, you guys will probably understand right away when you see her stuff, like why I click with her in that way. And I don't actually know her. Hopefully at some point, hey, maybe we'll connect, and that would be pretty rad. But just from seeing her work and what she does, the things that she produces, the way she speaks about these things, it's incredible. It really is incredible. And this is one of those things that stuck out to me. Her talking about the subject of being seen, heard, and appreciated. And the first thing that she talks about, I'm going to be looking down at my notes periodically because I had to sit there and dissect it as best as I could. So if I'm looking down, that's exactly why I'm looking down. So one of the first things she touches on in the reel is how these things, it's an understanding. How can I even explain it? Because I have it in my notes, but I'm trying to think about how to explain it to you guys. So it's the understanding these three things of a combined space and unity of the three things. And I really do think it's so important to understand how the three of these things come into play in each one of our lives, because each of us need to be seen, heard, and appreciated at some point. And the thing is, we're not always seen, heard, and appreciated. Sometimes it's one or the other, one of the three. And I'm not saying it has to be these three things specifically, but I have been experiencing these three things specifically very, very heavily in the last few weeks. And I think it's really interesting because, I mean, everything that I've been going through that you guys know of, it's been a little on the heavy side, right? And I'm doing my best to manage my emotions, manage my persona, everything about me. But I start to lose grip a lot of the time. And I think it's just because I'm trying to hold on to everything so tight. Like, I'm trying to keep my shit together so heavy that I end up losing grip of it all. But I've had so many different people and that have come back into my life, or that have just sort of inserted themselves in a way to give me the three of these things. Because when I talk to them, when I have any sort of conversation with them, I do feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And some of those names that I'm going to mention right now, you guys know because I've been talking about them. So I feel like you guys are coming to know these people. You know, I have people like Albert, Yessie, Jay, Sabrina, another friend of mine, Fredo, same thing. Another one that's come into play a lot more as of recent is my buddy Sid. And it's a trip when you watch that type of stuff happen, right? Like when you kind of step outside of yourself and you look at these people. And it's not that the people weren't in your life before, but when you start to, when you really step outside of yourself, you really step back and look at what these people bring to your life, right? And that they make sure that you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And also these people make sure to constantly tell me that. And the thing is, they know my love languages. A lot of them do. And they understand how important these things are. But I don't ask for these things. But these people feel compelled to tell me these things. To make me feel hey, like just know that you're appreciated. Know that your presence is appreciated. Your support, your love. Thank you for everything that you do. You know, I had a brief conversation the other day with a buddy of mine, Angel, the guy who runs Yoda Nights. And I went to his event on Saturday. Super cool. Great turnout. And at the end of it, he's like, dude, it was really great to see you and Albert, you know, and I was like, dude, we're always going to be here. We're here to support you. And he's like, man, the crazy thing is, like, I know that. Because it's one thing for, you know, people to tell you, hey, you know, I support you. But there's a difference between that and then actually showing up for it, right? So anytime I can do marketing for him, anytime I can do anything to push out his events, I will do that. Because I really, truly believe in what he's doing. I think he's created this really wild community within automotive, especially within 4x4, that I've never seen before. This sort of love and camaraderie for the sport. And I say sport because a lot of the people that tend to go, I can't even say a lot, but like a heavy portion, those guys who are out there like rock crawling and doing these things like that, that's also a part of my community as well. And it's something that I love to do in my spare time. When I do get the chance to do it, it's stuff that my buddies like to do as well. So for us to be able to see everything kind of be brought together, it's really fucking cool. Because especially from the automotive side, you see a lot with the cars, right? Like everyone, if you have a Porsche, everyone hangs out with their Porsche friends and they go to Porsche meets. Or you have a slam car, you go to your slam car meets and stuff like that. But trucks didn't really have a place like that. And I'm not saying he's the first one to do it. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think he's the first to do it insanely fucking well. I think other people are trying to do stuff like that, and that's great. I think it's cool to follow in his footsteps because he has set a really great example of what events should be. They should be family oriented, good vibes, good people, and that it's actually about what you're there for. So it's about the trucks. And it's cool to go around and ask people questions. And it's not this whole like, you can't sit with us mentality. It's that whole vibe because that shit's fucked up, right? But having this conversation with him and him telling me like, hey, dude, I really appreciate you. Like, thank you. When I have moments like that, like those really sincere moments, man, that shit hits me so different. So fucking different, especially as of late. And I had a similar thing also with a friend of mine, Sid. So it's when I have these crazy moments where it only takes a message and it's unexpected, right? It's just us talking about random stuff and then them just giving me this really small amount. Well, to them might be small amount. To me, it's very large, but like this like small amount, this small package of like, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm here, like till the wheels fall off. And again, I've been feeling it a lot lately. I've been receiving it a lot. And I know I've even mentioned it to you guys. Like I know I mentioned it with the RS Future meet, for example. Like I had a couple moments with Amir. And like that was really special. And other moments with other friends, even on that same weekend. So it's just the fact that I've had this really intense amount of pour into those cups of being seen, heard, and appreciated. So I felt like that's why when I heard this reel, you guys, I was like, fuck, I have to talk about it. This is it. this is fucking it. Because I know I'm not the only person who experiences this. And I know we experience it in different moments, different times, different measures, right? You're not going to experience all these things all the time, but I'm very grateful. I'm very appreciative. And this is a moment that I get to talk about it with you guys and give thanks to all those people. I mean, and I thank them immediately, of course, but me getting to talk about it in a public arena is very, very different because it's something super special. Super special. It's super intimate. And that's something that, of course, as I've talked more and more and more with you guys, that's something that I'm trying to be is a lot more vulnerable, and just so that you guys can see what my life is all about and what all these little pieces, like what they mean to that and how they compound and make this really incredible thing. With that being said, another thing that Lisa talks about is finding someone who understands the complex and relaxed ways of you. And the reason why that stuck out is because the friends that I have that are really close, they know that. They understand the complexity of that and how important, like, that I can go from up to down and that they understand all of it and that they're here for all of it. Man, like it's really okay. Like, prime example, Albert, I would say out of most people, Albert probably knows that the best because he knows that, especially for myself, I'm extremely emotional. I go from, I have like these really high highs to these really low lows, and he's seen it. He's been there in person for it. And he really understands that. And he understands that I am that person. And he makes sure to create a safe space for me that I feel seen, heard, and appreciated. So finding people, you guys, who understand all of those ways of you and who you are is so fucking important. It's so fucking important. Like, in my opinion, skip the small talk. And that's something that we're going to talk more about like later on in this episode, but I will touch on it briefly. In my opinion, skip the small talk. That's not it. That shit, to me, small talk kills it. Like, that's the shit you do with your coworkers. That's not shit you do with your friends. And you know what? Fucking, as a matter of fact, fuck that. We're going to talk about that shit right now because she talks about how with people who understand the complexity and the relaxed ways of who you are, that convos can go from small talk to big talk really fast. And dude, I'm telling you, when she said that, I was like, oh my God. And that the next thing you know, the person who you've had these conversations with becomes a big part of your life. And especially for the newer additions into my life, that's literally how these things happened. Because not that I've always done small talk, but I try to be cool with everybody. You see me at a car event, for example, come say what's up. We're going to talk. I'm going to talk to you. Everything's going to be mad cool. I'm not going to make it mad. I'm not going to make it weird. That's not my thing. But I had this weird moment, this weird shift where I was like, you know what? Fuck small talk. Let's talk, right? Like, let's really get into it. Can we actually have legitimate, like, wholehearted conversation? And where is that going to take this friendship? Where is it going to take this relationship? And in reality, me doing that is the best thing I could have done for a bunch of relationships that are in my life currently right now. Because we've done that. It started as small talk, but immediately just fucking fell off the deep end and went into something super heavy. And I'm beyond thankful for that. Because all of those people were able to kind of start to see, like, what I was just talking about, right? Like, the complexity and the relaxed ways of who I am. Because we can talk about something super light, like pastrami fries, or we can talk about something really heavy, like life's purpose. And the fact that you can do that with people, if you have those people that you can do that with, it's so fucking meaningful. So do it. And if you don't do it with your friends or your family or whoever's important to you, start doing it. Start doing it. Again, fuck the small talk. Get into it. Talk about serious shit. And then, dude, even if you guys need helpers with that, like questions, how to go about stuff, how to go about conversation, go back to things like games that I've played here, right? Like I've played Winners on here, and I've talked about it a billion fucking times. Get Winners. Play it with the people around you, play it with your friends, play it with your family, because those are the questions that you need. Those are the questions that you want, because life is about, a part of life to me is about developing really meaningful relationships. And there's nothing or nobody that says that it can't be every person in your life. I think you can give meaning to everything, and that every person in your life should have some sort of significance. They should mean something. They should give you something. Because you giving yourself to these people, you also deserve something in return. And if you're giving them your love, affection, if you're being super candid and you're just being honest, give them the opportunity to do the same. Like, don't necessarily keep people at an arm's distance, because it can really create like a very lonely sector in your life. And like, don't push people away. Even if you're super depressed, even if you're hurting, because I've been there. And I mean, I'm there right now. It's really tough and it's not fun. But I can't keep people that way. I can't keep people at a distance. I have to keep people there. And the thing is, they're all willing to listen, and they're willing to hear me out, and they're willing to give me their opinion if I ask. And it comes from a very healthy, a very loving place. And I'm very thankful to have these sorts of experiences right now, because if I didn't have them, I mean, man, I honestly don't know what I would do. And I know it's like, it can sound kind of dramatic, but it's not, because I can only process so much. I can only do so much. Even if I talk about it with myself here in my room, or if I'm driving around, it's not the same thing. I need some sort of feedback. And some people could even say right now, well, dude, don't you have your therapist? I do have my therapist, but I see him once a week. And in reality, that's not enough. Like, I wish I could see him 2-3 times a week. 2 times a week would be amazing. 3 times a week would be fucking incredible. But I think it's just because my mind is constantly racing. So when I have these sorts of people in my life, it gives me moments to disperse that. And it gives everyone kind of like a chance to be active in my life. Dude, I have something in my eye and it's really fucking annoying. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I'm going to go blind, you guys. Shit. Okay. I think I got it. It was an eyelash. I was trying to ignore it and just go through it, but I'm like, dude, I blink and it's there. It's like, like fuck stabbing my eye, but I think it's gone. So, okay, let's keep going. Again, I really do think it's important to stop keeping people at an arm's distance. Let them in. Don't be afraid. Let your fucking walls down. This goes with people that are like friends, family, people that you're dating. You guys, especially in the dating realm. And I know it's hard, because it's somebody that you're trying to let into your life in an intimate way. And I'm not gonna say I'm not the best person to give you the advice, because I'm currently not dating anyone right now. But what I do know is, like, what I'm looking for something so raw. And I think that that's kind of scary to some people. Like, I don't have an issue talking about anything and everything under the sun. But like, let's not talk about the weather. Let's talk about each other's purpose. Do you have that? Let's talk about each other's goals. Like, really, what the fuck are your goals? What do you want out of life? What are you trying to get right now? What are you working for? What makes your heart fucking beat? I don't want to know just shit like how your day was, which is fine. Obviously, we're going to talk about stuff like that, but let's get into it. Let's get into it. What the fuck is wrong with that? What's wrong with having these super candid, wild conversations? I want to get to know the person that I'm trying to fall in love with, because I mean, for myself, nothing against people who are out there just fucking dating and fucking around. That's cool. Especially if like you're on the younger side, run at it. But for myself, I'm a little on the older side. And especially with everything going on in my life, I don't have time for bullshit. I really don't. I don't have fucking time for it. So if you're not someone who's real, I can be candid with and go through life with, then this isn't going to fucking work. And some people would say, oh, that's really strong to come off like that. And I can understand that. But again, I don't see a problem with having these serious conversations right away. Because again, I'm not in it to play games. I don't have time for that shit. I'm not 20 years old anymore. I'm not. I'm in a place where I'm trying to build things in my career. I'm trying to shift. I'm trying to make moves. And I need somebody who's on the team for that. And maybe they have their own stuff going on too. And it's that whole thing of like building simultaneously, like building on a parallel, right? It's being able to kind of support each other and understand like, oh shit, like you're doing this. Oh shit, you're doing that. Cool. That's what's up. Let's keep it moving. Because what's hard is like when things are built on super, like on a face value, I feel like it kind of dumbs everything down. It dumbs it down like to this really insane place, because later on, what happens if it's like 6 months to a year down the road and you're like, I don't even really know who you are. I know that you like sushi and that you like going on walks to the park and you like going to like concerts and stuff like that. And that's great. That's fucking great. But again, I want to know what makes your heart beat. I want to know real fucking things. I want to know what makes you the way that you are. What influence did your family have on you? What do your friends do for you? What do they give you? Not that, oh, this make me laugh, make me smile. No. Tell me the real shit. Because the thing is now, I didn't have answers for all that stuff then, but I have answers for it now. And I don't expect my person or the person that I'm dating to give me all that stuff. But again, I'm tired of like the arm length. I want to tell all the people in my life that I love them. And I don't want to have a problem with me telling them that I love them. Because I really do love the people that are in my life. So why would I not tell them? At every chance that I get, right? And for me, that's a moment where I can make them feel like, and let them know like, yo, I see you, I hear you, and I appreciate you, and I love you. And again, to me, that last part, that's the most important fucking part, is just, and I love you. Because that's how I express myself, because I care. I care. I love you. Text me when you get home. I want to make sure you got home safe. And a part of that, again, has been me letting that wall down and just saying, fuck a arm's length. Like, bring it in. This is where it's at. And like I had some homies laugh at the last 240 Tuesday because when I saw my buddy Fredo, like we gave each other like a super long hug. Like we were sitting there and just like hugging for a cool minute. And people are just like laughing. But that's raw love. Like I appreciate him. I appreciated his presence. Because yeah, he came down to chill, but it's like, he didn't have to. And then we jumped into super heavy conversation as we're walking around. But that's what I'm saying. Like, what's wrong with that? Just fucking let people in. Let that wall down. And I know it's easier said than done, but trust me, dude, when you start to do that shit, especially with the people around you, start with the people around you first, and it's going to change up. It's going to change up. Your relationships are going to start to shift. They'll become heavier. They'll become deeper. The connections are stronger. And again, why wouldn't you want that? Why you want a bunch of people that are like at 25%? Fuck that shit. Keep a bunch of hundreds around you. Keep a bunch of hundreds around you. There's nothing wrong with being candid, about being honest. Because those are the things that are going to develop the relationships in the heaviest way in your life. And again, you being able to create that safe space, you allow people, once again, to be seen, heard, and appreciated. And when people feel that, they can reciprocate that. So let people reciprocate that. Let people give you that gift, because when you give it, I promise you, at some point, and sooner than you think, you're going to receive it. And it's probably going to be from every person that's around you. And it's phenomenal. It really is. Because I've noticed it myself. And anytime I get a chance to talk to somebody about it within that space, they're like, oh shit, like I get what you're talking about. So hopefully through this podcast, like especially this episode, you guys can listen to all of this and take all this shit in and reevaluate the relationships in your life. Even if it's your romantic relationship with your partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, husband, wife, anybody, friend, mom, dad, somebody. Reevaluate the relationship. Let that wall down, go deep. And don't be afraid to go deep, because it's gonna shift shit up. Like for sure. For sure. There's no doubt that it won't. And on that same subject, another thing she talks about is being absolutely real with the person and how dope it is. And that it creates this high that you start to fiend for, because you crave that connection with people constantly. And again, this reinforces everything that I was just talking about. It's sort of being so candid, so real, so honest that it's like, oh shit, dude, like that was fucking sick. Like I need that. I need this from everyone now. It's again, the arm's length. Why have people at an arm's length when you have a chance to be raw, to be real, to express emotions, to express how you feel, what this stuff means to you? Because again, you lowering your walls allows other people to say, you know what, this is a safe space. I'm going to also lower my walls until eventually there's going to be a point where there is no wall. It's just an open playing field. And you guys can constantly throw the ball back and forth in the most honest way. That's why when you start to see, like, for example, when people see the relationships that I have in my life right now from an outside perspective, they're like, hey, you and so-and-so are really close, huh? And I'm like, yeah, we are. Or, hey, you and so-and-so, like, you guys have these really wild conversations. Like, I watch you guys as you're talking and you seem to be really into it. And I'm like, yeah, because we are. We are 100% in this conversation. Because I don't need, like, it's like I've talked about with you guys before as well. Like, I can't do half-steppers. I can't half-step myself and I can't do half-steppers in my life. It's either 100%, 10,000%, the maximum of every percentage, or it's nothing. I'm sorry, like I can't do it. Like I appreciate you. Thank you for trying to come through and say what's up and do this whole thing, but I don't have time for face value shit. If I can't be raw, real, and honest with you, it's just not going to work because I'm not in that place in my life. When I was younger, it was a lot different. I could do face values all day. But I realized as I've gotten older, and especially in the past, probably since March, I think that was like a heavy time, like February, March, especially in March. After that point, I was like, fuck this. Fuck this. And with all the self-work that I've been doing, the therapy, everything, it's kind of made me realize that. And I've even talked about it with my therapist too. And he's like, yeah, dude, you seem to be in this really weird place that you're starting to like clean house. I'm like, yeah, dude, I really am. I really am. There's certain friends I had that were really close and I felt like I've literally fallen off with them completely. Nothing personal. It's nothing that like, oh, fuck you, I'm not talking to you anymore. It's not like that. If I don't feel that sort of connection with you and I'm constantly trying, what am I going to entertain that for? What am I going to entertain that for? There's other people that are around me that are in my life that are more than willing to give me their time, love, and attention, and to make sure, again, that I'm seen, heard, and appreciated. So that's the shit I have time for. That's the stuff I have the love for. Because those are relationships I need. And as I'm getting older, I mean, hopefully at some point, I have a kid. And the thing is, I want that kid to be around the realest fucking people in the world. The realest fucking people in the world. I don't want this kid being filled with fucking half-steppers. I need him to know, him or her, to know everybody around you is 1,000%. They're here for you. They are here for you in this moment to give you everything that life has given them. That's what I need. I need to be able to point, for example, like at Albert and be like, oh, go over there with your Theo Albert. This is that and the third. I know that this child, this spawn of mine is safe. And that everything, the knowledge and the love and everything that's being given to them is genuine and it's real. And it comes from a very raw place. Because that's what I'm here for, is raw emotion. I'm here for this raw form of love that you can't even fully explain. And I catch myself even on here, like I stumble with you guys and I'm like, fuck, man, like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And I have like these pauses and things like that. But because some of these concepts are so far out in a sense, like I take it to a different place and it starts to get rough to explain. But again, I agree with what Lisa is talking about, how being real with people is so fucking dope. Because that's how it should be. Fuck half-steppers, dude. Fuck them. Fuck these halfway ass people. Don't do it. And fuck arm's length. Keep people close. Hug the people that are in your life. Tell them you love them, that you care. Let them know. Like, hey, this is 100 over here. If you're down with that shit, cool, come through, because this is all I got space for. It's all I got time for. You know? And it's another thing that she talks about, which I've kind of been sprinkling through in and out throughout this podcast, is the blessing in itself, in the fact that, like, there's a sacredness in the fact that you're expanding from a pure place. And what I mean by that, and I'm not, when I talk about blessing, like, I'm not trying to get into this whole, like, the religious aspect, because I don't think blessings are necessarily religious. I think blessings are just, it's something that happens to you, right? It can come from the universe, it can come from anything or anyone. I think when you experience these little random things throughout life, they are gifts, they are blessings. They're from something else. Whether it's a person who came into your life and that's changed it, whether it's something that was brought into your life that you now understand that has changed your life, that's a blessing in itself. But this, what we're talking about today, the being seen, heard, and appreciated, that's being able to experience that sort of trifecta is wild. And the fact that that's like come to light in the last few weeks for myself, man, it's so fucking important, because it's put so much into perspective for myself. And I need that. I constantly need and seek perspective, because I'll fall into my head and I'll fall into these thoughts, and I'm like, I need something else. I need something to show me that this isn't it. And I'll immediately go run and look for it. Someone will say, oh, hey, and it's not the type of thing, I'm not talking about perspective where like, oh, it could always be worse. Because, dude, it could always be fucking worse. It could always be worse. I know that. That's not the perspective I'm looking for. What I'm talking about is, like, if I'm dealing with something a certain way, this is why the connections and the people I have in my life are so important, because I can run to them and say, hey, this, that, and the third, what do you think? How does this make you feel? How do you think I'm handling it from your perspective? And then they'll share that with me. Hey, you know what? I don't know how I feel about this, because this, that, and the third. And I think the way it's affecting you is, like, it's really starting to take its toll. I think right now it's not that bad and you're trying to process it, but you're also burying it at the same time. And let's say, that it sparks that sort of conversation. So again, it constantly goes back to the concept of being real. So when you have these people you can have these real, raw conversations with, there's a gift in that. There's a blessing in that. There's something that's underlying that's being given to you. And you have the opportunity to take that and run with it, or say, fuck it, I'm done. I'm going to, I don't want to hear this shit, and walk away. So you're being given a gift and you're walking away from it. And the thing is, I was doing that with certain people. And actually I was doing it a lot, just in general. Because if it wasn't something I wanted to hear, I just walked away from it. I'm like, this is stupid. But that's the dumbest fucking thing I could have done. Because what some of these people were trying to give me was coming from a very loving and nourishing place. And I wasn't ready to receive that. And we're not always ready to receive what we're hearing. But with where I am now, I'm willing to listen, hear it, and understand it. And I have to take it into consideration. It's not something I have to let dictate my life, because there's certain things I've done the opposite of what these people have told me, because it's something that I have to do for myself. I don't need everyone's 2 cents in my entire fucking life. There's things I need to learn on my own. I need to process on my own. Even outside of my therapist, there's things that I've had to go through, things I've had to deal with, conversations I've needed to have that I've talked about after the fact, because I didn't want any sort of, how would you say? I didn't want any sort of interference. I didn't need the static. I didn't need it. I'm like, you're going to do this by yourself, because you can. You have the tools, you have the understanding, you have the know-how. Be patient with yourself, go through it, walk through it, scenario it out however you have to. But you know the answers. And another thing, it's like we've talked about before, to go with your gut, and how important it is to go with that, because you know what's going on. You know. You're not stupid. None of us are. We play dumb, but we know what's up. You feel shit. Everybody does. You can't tell me you don't. If you don't feel shit, that's a completely different thing. But in my opinion, we all know what the fuck is going on. We can feel it. You feel when shit's bad. You feel when shit's great. Something tells you. There's something inside of you. You don't know what it is or how to explain it, but something says this is good or this is bad. And me being able to process all of these things as of recent, it's shifted it up completely. And again, the more that I let certain people in, it gives me more perspective so that I can continuously keep moving forward to this positive place. Because before it wasn't that way. I didn't know how to do anything that I was doing right now. I didn't know how to be with people. I did know how to be with people, but like I didn't know how to do this specific thing. How to remove the arm's length and just to be raw, to be myself, to be real. And that people would willingly accept that. And not just accept it, but like fully welcome it. Like, hey, you can be this way all the time. And I was like, oh shit. Again, not that I thought that it was going to be otherwise, but it's really fucking cool to experience that. And I'm very thankful for all the people in my life who allow me to be myself, who allow me to be raw, real, candid about anything and everything. Those of you who listen to this podcast and or watch it, I appreciate you because you're giving me your time, your energy, your love, your affection, because this is something very personal, right? This podcast has turned into something very fucking personal. And it was personal from the jump, right? Because we're talking about a lot of like crazy stories and different things, especially with the guests that I've had in the beginning. But it's formed into this like really, really beautiful tool for myself and for other people. And I mean, like for you guys, you know? So being able to talk about these sorts of concepts are really fucking important. And, you know, I thank you guys. I appreciate that shit from the bottom of my heart. And one of the other things that she talks about too, that stood out to me is when you keep the right people close to you, they hear you, they value you, and they love you for who you are. So it's just like what we were talking about, right? So again, it's removing the arm's length and allowing people to see you. Be yourself, be candid, be real. And I know it's a lot of this stuff is like very repetitive, you guys. And I know that. Trust me, I'm very well aware of it. But it's so fucking important because all this shit, it's like this really weird cycle that we're talking about because all of these things, that's why in the very beginning, I talked about her concept where she says it's the understanding of a combined space and unity because all of these things being seen, heard, appreciated, it's like this really wild triangle that's just stays constantly like dinging back and forth. And it doesn't matter which way you go in it, it's always connected. And these things are going to constantly cycle back and forth. But when you have the right people around you and you allow these certain people in, you create this sort of really beautiful circle that can continuously run. And eventually, you don't have to nurture it so hard. In the beginning, of course, everything requires a little bit of nurturing, but it gets to a point where you can kind of let go and the circle runs itself because you've created the space already and everyone agrees with that. And on that same note, and this sounds really simple, I know, but it's actually really fucking hard. And to me, it's something that you have to challenge yourself to do. She talks about at the end, giving yourself the same amount of love that you give others. I think that's one of the hardest fucking things to do because for myself, I surely don't do that. That's like the last thing that I do. I give other people so much love, so much affection, so much of myself, and I throw my own shit out the window because I won't give that to myself. And I'm working on that and I'm trying my best to be cognizant of that. But it's difficult. It's difficult. For some of us, it's very easy to give it than it is to receive it. And when I mean receive it, I don't mean receive it from other people. I think it's receive it from yourself because we tend to forget that. But we have to love ourselves, right? We have to understand, feel, and process everything solo because it's this I know I've talked about with you guys before. It's like when you go to sleep every night, regardless if you're next to somebody, you go to sleep by yourself. You're in your own mind, you're in your own thoughts, you're in your own head. And sometimes you got to be able to turn around and give yourself that hug and say like, yo, it's going to be fine. Like, I love you. I appreciate you. It's the affirmations in the mirror type of thing. And I know that stuff can be kind of cheesy too, where you're like, you know, you look in the mirror and you're like, you know, hey, I love you. I appreciate you. And some people are like, oh, that's stupid. And I can see how it can be, right? Because you're like, what? You're just talking to yourself. But I think it's telling yourself that, like really looking at yourself, being comfortable with who you are, looking and being comfortable with what you see, and saying that you love yourself and that you're here for it. You're here to support it. You're here to to nurture you. Because it's like the age old saying, right? How are you going to love somebody else if you can't love yourself? But we have to learn to do that. The same way that we learn to love other people is the same way that we have to learn to love ourselves. And I think that tends to be forgotten and it's overlooked very, very quickly. But it is very fucking hard to love yourself. Very, very fucking hard. But when you do, and you allow yourself to have these moments that you experience your own love, it's pretty crazy. It really is a pretty crazy thing. Whether it's going to an event by yourself or going to eat by yourself or going to the beach, going to the park, sitting there with yourself and just enjoying your company, not being on your phone type of shit. Like, let's say you want to go take pictures, go take pictures. Let's say you want to just go walk around, just go walk around. Give yourself these moments of love because it's something that we need. As people, it's something that we have to experience for ourselves. We need to know how to be alone. We need to know how to appreciate who we are as people. Because again, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else? You don't even know how to do that. But when you do know how to do that, when you know how to listen to what you need and give yourself those moments, the moments that you can give somebody else are going to be so much more meaningful. They're going to be so much more heavy. Because again, it goes back to, and I love that we have these conversations, you guys. Like, I love that we're able to go back within the same conversation. But it's like, again, being real with people, getting rid of the small talk and go big talk. And that's with yourself too, right? So again, this moves back to that. And it's challenging yourself to do so. It's challenging yourself to love yourself every single day. Even on the days that you feel like shit, even the days you don't want to do anything, that it's just, life's a little too much. That's when you really get to see what you're made of. Because it's you that has to pull yourself out of it. It's with your love, your affection, your acceptance, your appreciation, you seeing yourself and you hearing yourself. And the importance of giving yourself that thing, giving yourself that sort of, that trifecta, right? Like putting it on your chest and telling yourself in the mirror that I see you, I hear you, and I appreciate you. But try it out. If it's not something that you guys are used to doing, just try it out. And let me know how it goes. Shoot me a DM, shoot me a text, something. Be like, hey, I did something for myself today and it made me feel a different kind of love. And again, the more people that do this, it will really start to shift up how you see love and how you appreciate, how you take affection, all these things. So even if for those of you guys who are in relationships, if you're not used to being alone, if you're not used to really loving yourself, do that once in a while. Do that, because I think it's very easy, especially within the relationship space, to kind of lose who you are and lose yourself to the other person. But there's something that's like very dangerous about that. Very, very dangerous about that. But there's beauty in that danger, right? Because then you can you recognize the issue. And I'm not saying that being in a relationship is a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. So, I don't want y'all to take it that way. But I'm talking about, again, just being able to love yourself under any circumstance, with any person, with anything, any situation. Be able to pull back and love yourself. Because the more that you can love yourself and give yourself the affection, you're going to be able to return that tenfold. Because you have a different understanding of it, without a doubt. And I want to close out of the same way we close out every episode, right? Some sort of advice, some sort of wisdom, something. And after I heard this reel and I was like taking my notes and trying to process it and go through all the ideas I want to talk to you guys about today, what I've basically come down to for this week is to connect with people who understand your language. And if they don't understand your language, then find people who are willing to listen to you so that they can learn your language. And what I mean by just connecting with people who understand your language is like the people, for example, and this is the best way I can explain it. The people in my life right now, the close ones especially, they understand I have a specific language. And it's made up of all different kinds of things, but they understand it from afar. And if they don't understand it, they ask me, what do you mean? But they know that for example, I'm very emotional. I'm very affectionate. I'm very caring. I'm very nurturing. I want people to feel appreciated and understood and heard and seen, the same way that we've been talking about throughout this episode. And certain friends didn't understand that, but I noticed that they put in the work to understand. And they would either ask me questions or just like listen with intent. Because I think that there's also something with that too, right? Like listening, there's a difference between just listening and listening with intent. Because I think listening with intent hits you different, hits your heart, hits your soul. Because you're really trying to hear this person and what they're processing. You take it in yourself, and what you give back to this person is a part of you. And I think that's what I'm looking for constantly with everyone, whether it's like just friendships, family, especially on the romantic side, like if and when that time comes. But I'm trying to get people to understand my language. But it's what I'm, again, trying to explain to you guys is to get people in your life and to connect with people who understand your language. And again, even if they don't right off the bat, that they're willing to learn what your language is and the complexities of it and how crazy things can get. But they're literally sitting there with you and they're trying to learn because they want you in their life. Be around people, connect with people who want to be there, you guys. It's not just people who are there for convenience. There's a time and place for shit like that, but not all the time. The people who are in your life on a constant, they should want to be there. Not because you're the one that's always buying drinks, not because you're the one that's always buying food, not because you're the one that likes to go out and party. That's not what I'm talking about. If you have people like that in your life, start to reevaluate your shit. Step back. Take a mean step back. Not just like a little, no, not this little like, whoop. I'm talking about like a whole ass jump back. Look at your life from afar. If that's all that you have is people like that, fucking toss that shit. Toss it as fast as you see it. Because that's when you got to shift everything up. Because you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe everything's a little stagnant and maybe this is why. Maybe this is why. Because I have a bunch of people at arm's length and everything's face value. Fuck all that. Drop that shit. Especially for my younger listeners that are out there. Drop that shit immediately. Because I've had to learn it myself. I've had to learn it the hard way. I've had to learn it. Fuck, man. I've had to learn it. So fuck it. Fuck the arm's length. Keep people around you that really fuck with you. That, again, make you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And I hope that today's episode has been a little gift for you guys. I hope that you guys were able to take it, run with it. Go have conversations with your homies, with your family, with your partner. Talk to them about this episode. What do they feel? How do they feel about it? Ask people, ask your homies, like, hey, be candid with them. Like, yo, when we kick it, you know, we talk about certain things, like, do you feel seen, heard, and appreciated? You'd be surprised. And maybe you get an answer you weren't really expecting. Maybe one of your friends turns around and tells you, hey, you know what? To be honest with you, sometimes I don't. Like, oh shit, no way, dude. Like, let's talk about it. Like, why do you feel that way? And then you might get the other response too, where it's like, hey, you know what? I do. And I appreciate you. Thank you for always making me feel safe. Thank you for always making me feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And I hope that you feel the same way. Again, have those conversations because those are the types of relationships you need in your life, y'all. That's the shit you need. I need. We all need it. If we did that, man, everything would be, I'm not going to say everything would be perfect and it'd be better, but I do think that a lot of life would be a little bit easier to run through with people like that. Just having that sort of real, raw, candid relationships. Because there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with showing emotion. There's nothing wrong with you being who you are and showing who you are to the people that you love and that you care for. Because those people are going to accept that. And if they don't, they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. But I thank you guys for tuning in today. Again, thank you for coming back every week, for listening, for watching, however you guys are taking this right now. I appreciate you. Thank you. And hopefully hopefully I see you guys back for next week. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day, an incredible weekend, sending you love, good vibes, and all the good things. And I will talk to you guys very, very soon.